Welcome, dear friends. This is the first full moon special Uposatha program of the 2024 winter retreat. Today is the first full moon in the 2024 calendar year. In Pali, it's called a Phussa Punnami full moon. And in the Sinhala language, it's called the Duruthu Poya. In the history of Buddhism, many of the events of the Buddha's lifetime and important events in Buddhist history are recorded according to which moon day they landed. So this day marks the successful first teaching of the fire sermon. The eye amongst is on fire. With what? Is it on fire? With the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. And with that sutta, three famous Brahmin leaders, they all had the family name of Kassapa. The three of them converted to become followers of the Buddha, and they had more than 1,000 of their own disciples who all converted together at the first time. So this was a kind of a boost of the numerical growth of the Buddha's followers. We can keep this in mind in the sense of appreciating the spread of the teaching, the miracle of transmission, how it's possible for the explanations which is pointed out by the Buddha, the language and the ideals that he used to try to point to what he had experienced and what he was trying to get at, or what he was trying to evoke in the listeners in terms of their awakening. This miracle then began to, the miracle of teaching began to happen on a large scale, and then we began to have communities. Like this little community that we have here in the Sangha, of people who are, most of us regularly coming together 1 or 2 or 3 times a week to listen and discuss the Dhamma together, and to build up a kind of a mutual understanding, so that not only what I can tell you about what the Buddha said, but also what you can tell each other about your own experiences and how these teachings are realized for you in your own experience, what the impact is. All of this is part of the growth of the what's called the sasana. Sasana is sometimes translated as the religion, the Buddhist religion. It doesn't actually mean religion, but it's the length of time that the words that the Buddha taught are still properly remembered and still practiced, and that realization, awakening, and enlightenment is still a possibility. So as long as those are happening, then we say that the sasana is still alive, still going on. The Buddha predicted that all things are impermanent, and the longevity of his teaching being held by human disciples was not infinite, not eternal, but that instead, as long as the effort was made And according to the level of skill that Gautama had as the founder, determines the length of this fortunate time in history when the sasana is still alive. It's still possible to hear these authentic teachings and to realize. King Bimbisara became a Buddhist on this full moon. And the first monastery was offered to the Sangha. So then the monastics had both the possibility of being wandering mendicants roaming in dependence on the generosity of people for their alms, food, clothing, and shelter as they went from town to town or village to village in across the Indian landscape, using their own 2 feet as the mean of transportation. And then also these gathering places, these monasteries, where it's possible for the monastics to sit together in extended periods of meditation, possible for them to come together at the feet of Gautama Buddha at the time for large numbers, very large numbers of trainees to listen and hear those teachings. And even they say that at the monastery when they were come together, say during the Vasa Rains retreat, some of the great senior enlightened bhikkhus who were very skilled Dhamma speakers would teach the younger monks and the younger trainees. And so this is possible because of having a monastery. You all have, some of you have, and many, many other, hundreds of people, if not more than hundreds, have been involved in donating and contributing to create the existence of this Dhamma-Dharini monastery. And because of your generosity, then it's possible now this year that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bhikkhunis and 2 samanēris and 2 anagarikas and 1 nekkhamma. The anagarika and the nekkhamma are lay people who have undertaken the commitment of the 8 monastic precepts, the basic morality plus the precepts that we recited this morning, but they've taken it on either as a life commitment or as an extended commitment for the length of the retreat, put in the white robes, and for the Sor Anagarikas shaved their heads. So we had that ceremony today. And we are able to make the effort to try practicing every morning. I look up in the suttas according to the curriculum that we mailed out to you a couple of days ago. I give a 15-minute drop of Dhamma, and then the residents try to quietly go about the basic chores for the upkeep of the monastery, and then to have a substantial amount of time for their individual meditation practice, and possibly doing a bit of a study to take in what the Buddha had to teach about stream entry. um, through reading. This is because of your generosity. So, Anumodana Sadhu, for the existence of such a place of practice, which is completely non-commercial, just operating on the power of the Dhamma. This in Sri Lanka, the Duruthu Poya marks the first of 3 times that Gautama Buddha is said to have visited Sri Lanka. At that time, there was a dispute between 2 tribes of the people of Sri Lanka who were fighting over the throne. I guess that means fighting over the kingship or the rulership. And the Buddha pacified that dispute. So we can take from this example that the Buddha was an engaged Buddhist. It was even knowing that people have all of their tendencies with their politics and their power struggles, and they're even resorting to violence in order to dominate over other people, that the Buddha's teaching, which is the teaching of the way to peace, that he was able to go in the middle of a conflict and give that teaching, and with that teaching, and with his spiritual power, his spiritual charisma, be able to make the people stop and reconsider their fights, and to consider putting down their arms. And so we can also emulate the Buddha. We can be not afraid to go into some kind of a setting or a forum where people are quarreling, where they're struggling. And we also could speak up for peace, speak up for this way of practice, which is the practice of peace. And then there would be the possibility that whatever that power struggle or that politics is, that it could be reframed into a more peaceful format. I'm not denying that there are many specific skills involved in diplomacy and conflict avoidance, conflict reduction, conflict prevention. And we have the respect and appreciation for the people who have learned those secular skills for creating peace. And we also bring the Dhamma skill if we've listened deeply and understood and practiced, and if we have discovered within us that there is a way to be peaceful, and no matter what the provocation or no matter what the circumstance, that then if we found that out, we can manifest that in the world. We don't have to stay inside of our house or stay in seclusion. Once we've developed a certain amount of strength, a certain amount of wisdom, we can follow that example. Dear friends, I gave you this guided meditation pointing to the 5 aggregates, which is a change of pace from what we've been doing recently over the past couple of weeks. And I did this because the 5 aggregates is particularly connecting to one of the teachings that I want to point to this evening. I published something in a letter to the Dhamma Darini Google group yesterday. You might or might not receive those emails, depending on whether you subscribe to the Google group. But in the next letter that I send out to those who are enrolled for our regular weekly programs or for this Uposatha program, I'm going to be repeating the same information. We've developed an actual curriculum for the rest of this winter retreat about stream entry. If you follow and did all the practices that are recommended in this curriculum, then you could really accomplish something. So I'm moving along according to an outline of topics related to the Buddha's instruction about how to practice for stream entry. There's said to be 4 factors relating to stream entry. One is associating with a true person, then listening to the true Dhamma, then developing wise attention, and last of all, practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. So tonight the theme that I want to speak about is practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. Now, it so happens that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be going through a review of some of the basic fundamental teachings which are part of the package which the Blessed One recommended, and in particular gave this promise: if you practice with this, you may obtain stream entry, or if you practice with this, you may obtain your liberation. The teachings in the sutras that have this expression, Dhamma anu Dhamma patipatiya, it's the Dhamma anu Dhamma, the Dhamma along with the Dhamma. The Dhamma, which is what you can cognize that's arising inside your own, the phenomenon that you're able to experience, those are called Dhammas. And then the Dhamma is the teaching of the Buddha. So, and then, so the Dhamma in agreement with the teachings, or the Dhamma together with the teaching. So what we're doing is we're hearing the teaching from a wise teacher, and then we are integrating that with our own personal experience and finding out how what we are able to experience and know directly for ourselves is matching up with that teaching. And then furthermore, the Buddha, the Blessed One, gave us a gradual training. He gave the Eightfold Path, and he gave several other teachings that are along the line of a gradual training, that you undertake a sequence of actions and contemplations as you move towards more and more clarity, more and more peace, and with the more peaceful affective state, finding more clarity, and with that clarity having a chance for wisdom to arise, and with that wisdom to arise, having more chance to let go of holding on to anything at all as me and mine, and then with that letting go, the heart naturally becomes more peaceful, and with that more profound level of peacefulness in the heart, then there's more clarity, there's more possibility to see the nature of our experience, and so it goes like that in a continuous evolution. So this is an example of following the procedures and the suggestions from contemplating or reflecting about the teachings, to purifying our sila, to making the effort to be able to recognize and to clearly see the different states of mind, or the different activities of the mind, and then to both let go of the identity formation, the greed and the hatred, those reactions within those mental activities. A large number of the suttas that we see that are speaking about this Dhamma Anudhamma Patipana, Dhamma Anudhamma Patipatya, this practicing in accord with the Dhamma, actually seem to be concerned about hearing the Dhamma and accurately following the teachings as it was given by the Buddha. So we have the Buddha, we have a fully realized Samma Sambuddha, a teacher who has realized for himself, who knows the truth, and he also knows the most effective way to practice in order to come to this breakthrough of the Dhamma, this breakthrough of wisdom. And so if you're listening to one of the suttas is, if you're listening to some teacher who doesn't get it, who's not wise, who doesn't understand, and you follow that teaching of some other teacher who didn't understand this Dhamma, then you will not get the result from following that other teacher. Or if you did encounter a Buddha, or you encountered a wise teacher, you encountered these effective teachings, and then you listen but you don't pick it up and you don't practice it, then you won't get the goal. So the Buddha's particular method of expressing the teaching, reducing his deep wisdom into words and phrases and lists, and handing this down to us, he's asking us to understand him, understand what is said, understand the significance, see how these elements fit together, and try as best we can to discern the significance in the whole context of the whole teachings. When the Buddha had obtained, this happened, actually it was close to the end of his life. It's in the Udana. The Buddha, recognized that the end was coming, and he gave a hint to his disciple Ananda. It says, if only I were requested, I could live for 100 years, I could live for a longer period. But Ananda didn't pick up the hint. And the Buddha hinted 3 times, and Ananda didn't pick it up. And so, since Ananda didn't pick it up, he said, well, Ananda, I'm going to have my parinibbana in 3 months. So I shall be leaving this existence as a living human being in 3 months. And then Ananda was like, oh, whoa, why don't you live for 100 years? Don't go now, when I'm not ready. And the Buddha said, well, I hinted 3 times, but you didn't pick up the hint. And then Mara visited the Buddha in this sutta, and said, well, you might as well just go now. And the Buddha said, no, I'm not going right now, I'm going in 3 months. And in this conversation with Mara, the Buddha recollected that many times in his lifetime, Mara had invited the Buddha to depart from his human life and to go and enjoy his parinibbana. Since he'd already achieved the goal, why did he need to stay around? And the Buddha recollected that at the very beginning, shortly after his first enlightenment, when he became fully awakened, he was spending a certain number of days at the foot of several different trees in the forest, expressing his gratitude and appreciation for the trees that had sheltered him while he was struggling. And Mara approached and said, Venerable Sir, you've done your deed, why don't you go now? And the Buddha said, wicked one, I shall not become fully extinguished until I have monk disciples, and that's bhikkhu disciples, and bhikkhuni disciples, and layman disciples, and laywomen disciples, who are competent, educated, assured, learned, having memorized the teachings, and practice in line with the teachings. Not until they practice properly, living in line with the teachings. Not until they've learned their own tradition and are able to explain, teach, assert, establish, disclose, analyze, and make it clear. Not until they can legitimately and completely refute the doctrine of others that may come up and teach this Dhamma with a demonstrable basis. So that's part of the tradition around this theme of Dhamma, Dhamma, Patipatya. And there's many other suttas that are along this line. So for the purposes of our conversation now, I want to have us recognize that we're not aiming just to have some incoherent experience that we're not able to express in words what actually happened, even though the Dhamma is deep and subtle, and it's not, the meditation experiences, you're not like verbalizing through the meditation, but emerging from that, emerging from each landmark experience on our path to awakening, that Buddha allows us to be able to enunciate, explain, and articulate. And he doesn't rule out listening to words or reading words about the teaching, whether it be in the early suttas that are handed down or in the authentic contemporary expressions of a living teacher who's realized something, or a teacher in historical times who has actually had realization and has written down in their own words what they experienced or how they came to experience their own awakening, and how that their own awakening is connecting to the original teachings of the Buddha. We have in our Pali Canon 2 books of poetry. One is called the Theragatha, the verses of the elder bhikkhus, and then the Therigatha, the verses of the elder bhikkhunis. And in those verses, the disciples who have realized are giving their own personal statement about how they woke up. Another aspect of this Dhamma Dhamma is about practicing for insight. And I want to call one in particular to your attention, which is about developing the insight in connection to the 5 khandhas. It's because of this teaching. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to read you one more beautiful statement. This is how much sincerity you got to have if you're going to get the full benefit of this program. The Buddha said, this is in the Itivuttaka. He said, this is what it means to practice in line with the Dhamma. When speaking, they speak in line with the Dhamma, with the teaching, not against it. When thinking, they think in line with the teaching, not against it. Or if going beyond either kind of thought, thinking in line or thinking not in line, rejecting all thinking, they simply meditate, staying equanimous, mindful, and aware. So what I take from that is that one can be cautious about, like secular subjects. Say, for example, at our monastery there, they recently installed a air ventilation system, and so we had to, or some of us in the community, had to spend a certain amount of time with the board of directors and the volunteers contemplating about air purification systems and mechanics, and something that's not part of the teachings, although one can certainly find the Dhamma in any subject if you look at it in that way. So I know that this HVAC system is not satisfactory. It's dukkha, even though they made so much effort. And I know that they're going to turn it on tomorrow. And when they turn it on, in some way or another, it's not going to be completely satisfactory. We're not going to be taken to heaven because of this new thing that the volunteers tried so hard. So there's the dukkha in it. And also, it's impermanent. It's not going to last. It's going to break down. Also, it's not my HVAC, even though I was a member of the committee for so long. It's not my HVAC, so I don't need to identify and get uptight and be angry if somebody criticizes it, and because I've put my identity on it. So in all these ways, there's not any subject that you can't treat according to the Dhamma. But the main thing is, if we want to get the goal, spend a lot more time thinking, pondering, reading, listening, and discussing about these Dhamma subjects, and practicing and reflecting and thinking, even writing about these Dhamma subjects, so that it's like you'd be swimming in a universe of Dhamma. Like you're a fish in a pond, and your pond is the water of your pond. What you live and breathe is Dhamma. When we meet people who are realized, it might be something that's very noticeable, that they always are speaking about the Dhamma. They're not speaking about other trivial things without any connection to the Dhamma. So the specific practice suggestions about this Dhamma Patipatya, there's several ones that point to developing the perception of impermanence in terms of the five khandhas, or in terms of the sense bases and everything that arises because of the sense bases, or in terms of causation, to just focus on impermanence. And then the other group of teachings, the other theme that we see again and again, is about becoming disenchanted or disillusioned with the self and all of the fabrications involved with holding up this flag of the self. Imagine that your own self, your own identity, is a tremendous, large, tall flagpole with a great heavy flag on it, and you're marching in a parade, and you've got this, there's a special holster that you got, and you just got this flag that you're carrying, and you're marching and marching and marching and marching, and then, but this march is going on and on and on and on, and it never comes to an end, and you're holding this flag up, and it's so heavy, it's so difficult, it's so painful to have to continuously keep this flag propped up and flagging. So eventually you might find out, somebody give you tips, say, hey, you can put it down. And having put it down, you don't have to pick it up again. One who's living according to the Dhamma should live filled with disillusionment for form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. This is the Pali word nibbida, which sometimes is translated as disgust, or a disappointment, disenchantment, disillusionment. So these five aggregates are always expressed in terms of those phenomena associated with clinging. And you should become kind of like sick and tired of clinging to these aggregates. You can become tired of how these aggregates feed into each other when we are emotionally aroused or when we're following some kind of instinctive pattern that's related to protecting our own life or getting more long life, getting safety and security because we want to protect our existence and all of the energy that gets triggered by that. And then how you can see that like in the meditation is not naturally a very egotistical, self-centered kind of an activity. So it's kind of a safe way that within the meditation you can look and just notice, okay, that's a body, these are feelings, these are perceptions, these are volitional formations. This is the knowing faculty of being conscious and awake to the whole process. But then when we get off the cushion, if we have to go into the battlefield and put ourselves in between the two warring parties and try to speak to them about peace, then it's very likely that something will be said that is insulting or threatening or frightening or something like that. And that when that happens, the whole package of the five khandhas sort of snaps to attention, and that flag snaps up into its upright, strong position. And you can, if you've trained yourself to be very alert and aware and to notice the changes, you can see what happens in your body, like when your hackles go up and the hairs go up on your neck because something has frightened you, and how the feeling arises to energize and motivate this whole process of coming to attention to protect the self, which has suddenly come into existence as something that seems to be really real and absolutely has to be protected. And then you can see how, if you're getting a heart attack or heartburn or a stomach ache or the body feels energized or the fight or flight is activated, you can see those things are actually like manifesting in the changes in the material body. And so if you train yourself to be able to just be aware of the material body and watch the material body so you know what's up with the material body, then you can, the body can tell you what's going on sometimes more accurately and more quickly than the different aspects of mentality can. Even though like the mind is quicker than the body, but the mind also has the kind of capacity for self-deception that we may, start going down that route and not realize it. But we can notice a strong feeling which evolves to, oh, this is going to be my salvation. Oh, this is going to be my safety. Oh, this is going to be my happiness. And quickly, almost immediately, concurrently with that feeling comes a perception that paints the picture of that lovable, likable thing that's going to be giving us happiness and safety and security and more life, and allowing us actually to make our identity like as kind of like this is our home base, and we can go into our home base of our identity and think that we can live there, like within the boundary. This is me. This is who I am, and we can be safe there. There's all of that. All of it springs up, and also almost simultaneously with that, comes up this volitional formation, like we know what to do. Like I've got to do something for my safety, for my protection, for my welfare, for getting more life, or to protest against some kind of insult or some kind of danger or some kind of a threat to my existence. So that's the result of doing this meditation, to train the mind to become skillful in recognizing these different states, be able to recognize them really quickly and accurately. Then when you get out of the relative security of the meditation hall and the meditation cushion and go out into the world, you can see these processes, how they happen. And one should be full of disillusionment. You should understand them completely. And when you understand what's going on with the form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, then you're no longer a prisoner caught up in this process. You're freed from this process. So you may thought that you were clinging to your body, to your feelings, to your opinions and attentions, but actually those things have got you in a trap, like a bear trap. But if you stop clinging, then the bear trap opens up. There's one more that I want to read you. An ethical mendicant should rationally apply the mind to these 5 grasping aggregates as impermanent, as suffering, as diseased, as a boil, as a dart, as misery and affliction, as alien, as falling apart, as empty, as not self. Oh, it's strong medicine. But I think I kind of painted a picture for you, didn't I? About how awful it is to be caught in a bear trap, or how awful it is to be condemned to be continuously marching down a parade route carrying a great heavy flag. When you see both how unpleasant but also how unnecessary that is, it's possible that an ethical mendicant or an ethical meditator who rationally applies the mind, who gives this yoni so manasikara to the 5 grasping aggregates, they will realize the fruit of stream entry. So this work that we have to do in connection to the 5 aggregates is both an aspect of what we've been talking about the past few days, this yoni so manasikara, the wise attention or the appropriate attention or the thorough penetrating attention that looks deeply into phenomena to see them down to the root cause. Doing that work is doing the Dhamma Patipatya. It's practicing the Dhamma according to the teachings, according to the Buddha's advice. And if you do that, then not only stream entry, but liberation. Elsewhere in the Upanishad Sutta, that's called Transcendental Dependent Origination, the Upward Spiral. From gaining concentration, gaining samadhi, and then seeing things as they actually are, that gives rise to this nibbida, this disillusionment. And with that disillusionment comes about, in Pali it's called viraga, which sometimes means fading away. It's like a fading away of the identity thing. And it also has the second meaning of dispassion. So the excitement, the emotions, or the reactivity is also fading away. So on both those sides there was this viraga, this fading away. And from the viraga comes vimutti, or freedom. And that freedom can be experienced at many different levels. The highest level of that freedom is experiencing the freedom from what the Buddhist calls the asavas, or the taints, from the deepest level of the psychological formation that keeps us tied down in samsara. So when we see the freedom from that deepest bond, then the work is done. So this work is not only for stream entry, but it's going on all the way to the goal. I shall pause now, come to the end of my formal talk, and leave time for your questions and comments. Anybody who would like to respond to this, or tell me an example from your own practice, how this works for you, welcome to put the hand up, and I'll call on you. Also, comments welcome from any of the persons in the room here. Well, I guess this means that you could understand what I was speaking about. Oh, Sheila, please comment.
Well, my comment is that the Dhamma talk is like in my heart, and what it feels like is the wise attention I didn't attend last Sunday when the conversation began, when the Dhamma talk on this subject began, but I did attend, I guess it was a week ago, Tuesday. Well, yeah, 2 days ago. And it really came together this evening for me in terms of being able to understand that application in whether it's daily activities or meditation. But there was just a connection that I could feel, and it really was a visceral response. And I think in terms of an understanding. So I know that's not extremely articulate, but it's a different way for me of understanding and hearing the Dhamma this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, and I really appreciate that affirmation, especially knowing how sincere you are in your own practice and that you've been working with this for a long time. And so if it can just open the window a little bit further, that's great. Makes me so happy. Ananea.
I think part of this is, and I really appreciate what Sheila just said also. I guess this isn't by way of a defense, but it is 9 o'clock at night, and this is like not conducive. Most people by this time, including myself, are starting to, fade a bit. So having questions at the ready are probably not happening. But what did happen, at least for myself, and it sounds like Sheila, and I'm sure others, is that it was a really in-depth Dhamma talk on things that you have been going over that we've all heard, but it was put together very, very well. And so to hear it tonight, and then also to be able to hear it, by way of going to YouTube and listening to it again or whatever, you laid it out, and that is what you're offering, and the monastics are offering during the winter retreat. So and having meditation for a good period before. So this has been very full. I just don't think it's where people are really going to jump up and have a bunch of questions, because I think it mostly laid out what was happening. And as we go along, there may be more questions. But anyway, I think it was well done, and I say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Ananea. And I also am aware that in the Buddhist tradition, the monks would be meditating and practicing together in silence for 5 days in a row. And then on the 5th day, they would talk all through the night about the Dhamma. And so we do have this tradition of the teachers who just don't stop. We could go on until midnight or later with a Dhamma talk, if you had a teacher who was so accomplished and so full of the Dhamma, and hopefully able to be coherent and giving it in a way which is useful. I myself feel that these talks are not completely rehearsed. They're not rehearsed at all. I just got some text that I want to share with you, and it's quite, I feel more clear in my own heart at the end of this talk than I felt at the beginning. So it was a talk that even worked for me. So I think this may be enough for tonight.